All right, everybody. Welcome to Plots and Politics. We are so glad that you are here. My name is Corinne Sarah. I'm here with Sarah Plotzing. It has been a while since Sarah and I have been together. We have been traveling, getting kids off to school, and goodness, dealing with a whole lot of nonsense in the political world, both on the national level and in Indiana, of course, because that's our life. We want to dive into three key topics today. We are going to talk about the gerrymandering efforts in Indiana being pushed by the Trump administration. We are going to talk about allegations of a deepfake AI video that exploited the wife of an Indiana state legislature, allegedly in the lieutenant governor's office. And we are also going to talk about the quote unquote Speedway Slammer, which is the very unfortunate, kitschy, alliterative name that has been given to the plan to hold federal immigration detainees at the Miami Correctional Facility in Indiana. So, my goodness, that's a lot to get through, but we are gonna churn through it. I'm so excited to talk about this with Sarah. How you doing, Sarah?
Oh, well, I'm happy to see you, brilliant, beautiful girl. I have missed you. I am very thrilled about my kids being on their 5th day of school, and they're doing well in 1st grade and 10th grade.
That's
So that is
awesome.
wonderful. We're talking about some scary crap happening in Indiana.
We sure are.
So, you are the sugar, you are the beautifulness on this crap that we're talking about.
And you are the sprinkles on this shit Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and say it. You're the sprinkles. My goodness, it's a lot. It is. I told you when I was we were chatting before this and typing out the banner, I'm thinking of the Wizard of Oz, like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, that's what I was thinking about. Cause I'm like gerrymandering, deepfake, Speedway Slammer. Oh my, like it was, there's so much happening. So let's dive right into it. Cause we got a lot to get to. Where do you want to start, Sarah?
So we could do gerrymandering. We did an episode last week. I did one with Tim and Mad Voters, Katie Rector, and we explained what was happening with gerrymandering. So if you want to know more about it, because that was a full 55-minute episode about just the gerrymandering in Indiana, be sure to find that. But then let's go through it with your perspective. You are so thorough, and yeah, I just want to say I normally can keep my calm about stuff. I did not see the Indiana gerrymandering thing coming. I couldn't sleep at night when I found out about it. And I had to have help with my therapist, Erin. Normally we talk about my own personal life. And I was like, I'm going to need help with Indiana democracy and
right.
my mental health help here, Erin. And he helped me. But I mean, it's scary.
It is a lot. And what's really the most frustrating is there is a lot of whataboutism happening in this conversation. Of course, you and we're in Indiana. We're Indiana people. The bulk of the work that we do is focused on Indiana politics. And the reason that we focus on Indiana politics is conservative state legislatures continue to be a roadmap for the conservative movement in the United States writ large. And you have organizations like the Heritage Foundation or ALEC, which is a legislative policy agency that actually writes pieces of state legislation from a conservative perspective. You have organizations like that who have been working for decades to push very conservative policies in state legislatures. And they do this to kind of test things out in the court and see what they can get away with before they kind of take it big time. So I see state legislatures as like the minor leagues, right? They're coming here, they're testing things out, they're working out the kinks, and then they go to the major league. And so what we have seen happen in state legislatures really over the last 2 redistricting cycles, and I do want to make a distinction between redistricting and what the Trump administration is doing, which is intentional, unlawful, unconstitutional gerrymandering. So redistricting is a run-of-the-mill procedure that every single state goes through every 10 years after the census. It is a necessary feature because population changes.
People move.
Mm-hmm. And you want to have congressional districts. And so not only congressional districts, but state legislative districts that are as equal as you can get them. That sounds like a very simple process. However, it becomes incredibly politicized, mainly with the advent of very intelligent computer programs that are able to gerrymander a district to fit a certain political viewpoint. So gerrymandering, separate from redistricting, is the intentional politicization
It's
of a district.
redrawing the lines of your district so that you keep yourself and your friends in power, your
Yes.
political party. And both sides do it.
Yes, they
Democrats
do.
and Republicans do it. But in our state, we're messed with Republicans right now because that's who has the supermajority.
And I'm really glad that you said that, Sarah, because in a lot of the content that I've been making over the last week or so talking about this process, I'm getting a lot of whataboutism in the comments. Okay, now do Illinois, now do Massachusetts, people throwing out quote unquote blue states. And yes, Democrats and Republicans gerrymander. However, what happened in Illinois, in Massachusetts, et cetera, happened during a regular redistricting year. And I'm not defending the process of gerrymandering. I'm defending the process of redistricting. What is happening here in Indiana, which is also what is happening in Texas, is the Trump administration coming into a state, making up a reason to have to do a mid-decade redistricting. So this is completely separate. And folks who want to defend the Trump administration for whatever reason want to defend this move by saying, oh, look what the Democrats
do it. But we don't do it in the middle of a time when it's not redistricting.
Obama is not sending, Biden at the time, who was his vice president. He wasn't sending Biden to Illinois to go make him do this, because that's what happened in Indiana on Thursday, August 7th. So a week ago, what day is it? Tuesday.
Tuesday.
President or Vice President Vance came to Indianapolis to meet with Governor Braun. He met with Governor Braun, the governor of Indiana. He met with Senator Bray, who's the president of the Senate, and he met with Speaker Houston, Speaker of the Indiana House. And everything that has come out of that conversation so far has been very vague. It is, we are non-committal about redistricting. It was, we had a great conversation on a variety of topics. No one has really said what the variety of topics is. So there's still a lot of questions up in the air, because what the Trump administration is asking Governor Braun to do is call a special session of the Indiana legislature to redraw Indiana's maps. And there are several templates that are online because, again, it's a computer program. It's very easy for anybody to go into that program and say, Indiana has 9 congressional districts. Currently, 7 of them are held by Republicans. But you can easily go into this program and say, I want all 9 to be Republican, and those maps exist.
Right.
And the way that, so District 1, which is Northwest Indiana, the region where I am originally from, is held by Representative Frank Mervan. He is a Democrat. That district, honestly, can be pretty easily made a Republican district by just a little further south.
And something that Tim said that I didn't know about, there is some protection about gerrymandering when it's about race.
There is, and that's an awesome.
It's harder to gerrymander because it's so racially diverse.
Yes.
But you're right. That district, it's easier. The one that's by Chicago, that one would be easy to gerrymander. We can change this with laws, right? We could pass laws. We could have Supreme Court come in. There are many things that we could do to stop this, but so far we haven't been able to. We almost were. When we had Ruth Bader Ginsburg alive, there was a case that was going to come to the court, and they had enough people that were going to probably vote to stop gerrymandering. And then Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. And then we replaced her with, who is it? Amy Coney Barrett. Yes. And so then it was like, now we have lost the chance that we had to stop national gerrymandering. And that was a real blow. That was really hard.
And another Indiana connection, Amy Coney Barrett is a Notre Dame law school grad. So she is an Indiana law school grad.
Right by you.
Right by me.
Right?
Yep. I will say Notre Dame now that I'm in Quebec. I won't say Notre Dame because the French don't like that. But and what's interesting is that J.D. Vance tried this nonsense when he was in Ohio. So this same playbook of extreme partisan gerrymandering was already tried in Ohio. The Ohio Supreme Court rejected those maps 5 different times. there have been 5 different court cases in Ohio about these maps. So just think of all of the taxpayer resources being expended to defend racist voting boundaries. And the race part is really interesting because portions of the Voting Rights Act have been struck down by the Supreme Court. And if anybody wants to get into post-Civil War Reconstruction, Sarah and I did an entire series during February about Reconstruction, Jim Crow, post-Reconstruction.
I learned so much from you. Yes.
That was one of my favorite series we've ever done.
Yeah. So go to, I would say the best thing to do is go to YouTube. Project Next YouTube, and go to playlists, find Plots and Politics, and they're all in order there, and get all the deep dives from Corinne. She teaches it and it's interesting. And then you hear me react like, wow, you know.
Thank you. I'm glad. Thank you for that. I had so much fun. I love, if I had to pick one time period, if I only got to study one, I would probably study that time period, because our inability as the United States to heal from our racial wounds, I won't say inability, because we could if we wanted to. Our refusal to heal from those racial wounds is exactly why we are where we are today. We refuse to accept any responsibility and truly forge a path. And one of the safeguards that was put in place for Black voters in the South was anytime changes were made to any voting policies, whether it was polling times, yada, those changes had to go through federal approval for certain districts in the South, because those districts had a horrific history of preventing Black voters from voting. Portions of that Voting Rights Act that had that racial check have been nullified by the Supreme Court, pretty much saying, we're not racist anymore. We did it, right? So I have a lot of questions when it comes to the racial argument regarding redistricting. Should it make it all the way up to the Supreme Court? Again, how they would rule, because there is precedent that would protect Marion County. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Indiana, Marion County is where Indianapolis is. It is pretty much its own congressional district because of how densely populated it is. So Representative Andre Carson. Mm-hmm. Is the Democrat in Marion County, or not Marion County, but District 7. Okay. And if in the maps that I have seen, not only does it stretch District 1 south, so it makes District 1 more rural, it takes Chicagoland and then it goes south along the Illinois border, it also splits Marion County into 4 chunks. So there are 2 ways that gerrymandering happens. It's either packing or cracking. So you either want to pack all of your voters
in one little thing,
to concentrate their power, or you crack and split them up.
Right. I've heard it as like a pie too. You want to cut it into pie pieces. So
pie pieces.
Bite. You want to, it basically just takes your voting rights away, because you're redistricted in a way that your vote doesn't matter, sort of like how we vote for presidents. And if we vote for a Democrat in Indiana, it seems like our vote's wasted. Really, it's sort of similar to that, where, I just would like one person's vote to count equally.
Yes. So I would imagine if I had a Republican playbook, I think they would try to just get 1 seat. I don't know that they would mess with Marion County.
Right.
Unless
1
they
seat's bad enough. I mean, they already have 7. How great? They already have 7.
And when we look at Indiana as a whole, I like to remind folks of this. You know, Indiana on a national stage is just seen like we're MAGA country, right? They see us as just, we are hopelessly MAGA. We're not. 54% of voters voted for our current governor. 54%. And so when you compare that data to recent presidential data, let's say at best, Indiana is 60% Republican. We have a congressional delegation that is 82% Republican, and we have a state legislature that is 73% Republican. And that is what can be achieved with gerrymandering. So that is why this is unprecedented. The gerrymandering in itself is not necessarily anything new, because check your clocks, y'all. 5 years from now, this is exactly what Republicans are going to do. They're going to try to change makeup of the first district, which I do think I do think that's going to be difficult just based on
maybe
the
we could have a
denseness.
different governor then.
I keep telling y'all, we got 26, 28, and 30. We have three more election cycles
to get people that want to represent us.
And
that because then they would fight for us. They'd be like, what does the majority of Hoosiers want? Let's fight for you, instead of, oh, we're doing unpopular things to people that live in Indiana. They're not going to want to vote for us. Let's change the district lines to keep ourselves in power so we can keep not listening to Hoosiers. It's like, no, that's not how we do this. We, the people, elect you, and you're supposed to represent us. So we got to fight for that and get that back. And we can. That's what you're saying.
We absolutely
I'm so
can.
thankful you fight for Indiana and you help explain
it.
You
too.
You guys, Corinne has over 100,000 followers on TikTok now. So, a lot of people are seeing her stuff, which is great. Keep it up. Amazing girl. You explain. I learn from you frequently. You explain what's going on in Indiana. Fight for us. Everybody join the fight. I'm waiting. I would like more Republicans in Indiana to be voicing that this is wrong. This strips away everybody's right to have a voice for their vote to count. I would like to see more Republicans, because that's who's in charge here. We're going to need those that are brave and moral and recognize what's happening to take a stand right now, since Democrats don't have the majority or even close. We need them to step up. So I'm looking for them. I will praise them.
I will too.
Won't you? You will praise them. So
100%. So, and that's kind of where, like, the distinction for me is, if obviously I make content about Indiana. So when I'm talking about gerrymandering and I'm talking about disproportionate representation that does not reflect the political leanings of the people of Indiana, I get people in the comments that are like, oh, what about Illinois? I'm like, correction. I'm in Indiana. Like, this is what I'm talking about. But if you want to talk about gerrymandering that's happening in other places, sure, but let's stay focused, because that ain't the topic right now, right? Like, I need you to focus.
I didn't foresee Trump putting his vision on Indiana, and that's what happened last week, and that's what's happening right now. And I just kind of thought that we were MAGA enough for them.
Oh no!
So it was a surprise. Yeah. Okay, let's go to deep fakes now, girl.
Oh, Lord.
I knew a lot about the gerrymandering one. This one I only know a tiny bit about.
OMG.
It affects one of our favorite politicians that just made himself get elected as lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
Micah Beckwith, right? It has something to do with Micah Beckwith.
And I'm going to preface all of this by saying, I do a lot of editorializing when I speak about Micah Beckwith, and I am often accused of being hyperbolic, but I do think that there are so many important threads to be pulled into a figure like Micah Beckwith, and I'm not attempting to be hyperbolic. I'm attempting to connect all of the red strings on my crazy Christian nationalist wall, right?
They are so well organized.
They are.
It is terrifying. And we've done episodes on Plots and Politics about Christian nationalism that helps connect all the red string and dots. So again, go back and watch them if you want, or you can listen to them on our podcasts. Because you've done a good job explaining that. Oh, girl, I've got a contact. I found a guy that is fighting Christian nationalism in Indiana, and I got to get his story on Project Next. So,
I will join his fight, because my goodness, this is, and so there's so much of Micah Beckwith that has to be viewed through the Christian nationalist lens, and then it begins to make a lot more sense. So Micah Beckwith is Indiana's lieutenant governor. It's also important to point out that he is also still a full-time pastor. He is a pastor. I'm using pastor very loosely because
one of those mega churches. Is it a mega church?
Mega church. Life Church is in Noblesville, Indiana. Life Church is actually a chain of churches. I believe it began in Oklahoma, but it's a chain of evangelical kind of mega churches.
Do we know his salary by any chance, or is that private?
It's private. We don't know it.
I'd love to know his salary.
Right? But he has done some very shady things. First of which I believe, which is a disservice to the taxpayers of Indiana, is you just got elected to a full-time job. That's being the lieutenant governor. It is a full-time job. You do not get to keep your other full-time job as a pastor. Number two, His church is a polling location. Number 3, he hosted a bunch of Republican elected officials, including the state comptroller, on the stage of Life Church in Noblesville in March of 2025 as a political rally. 4, he awarded a contract, a no-bid contract. So that means no bids were taken. He just gave a contract to the law firm of his church to also provide legal services to the lieutenant governor's office in Indiana. There is a mess of conflict of interest here. And Micah Beckwith goes out on these speaking tours around the state where he says, I am bringing faith and politics together. Now, that language sounds very innocuous because it's supposed to. What he means by bringing faith and politics together is he means exercising a Christian nationalist agenda. This is not about faith, right? Faith is a very broad term. This is specifically about Christian nationalism. And Micah Beckwith, along with Indiana's Attorney General Todd Rokita, just put out a church's Bill of Rights. Churches are where Christians worship. So if we're talking about this being about faith or religion, 'tis not. This is specifically about Christianity. It does not say places of worship Bill of Rights. It does not say mosques Bill of Rights. It says churches Bill of Rights. So we have to be really careful and specific about how we talk about this kind of agenda. And Micah Beckwith really first got on the national radar, I think, back in October, right before the 2024 election, when he said the Democratic women running against him in the election had the Jezebel spirit.
And what does Jezebel spirit mean?
Oh, Lord. So Jezebel is a very loaded term. So Jezebel is a character in the Bible. She is used as a literary device in the Bible. And this is no criticism of the Christian faith. But we have to remember that the Bible is a literary tool, and it has been translated from its original language so many times. There are several different versions of the Bible, and it's very easy to translate certain passages to get them to mean what you need them to mean. And Micah Beckwith is an expert at this. So Jezebel is a character in the Bible. She is accused of doing a variety of things, mainly using her sexuality to gain power in society.
So it's another word for a loose woman.
A loose woman, someone who does not obey the natural order,
so
which
Micah
is
Beckwith called Democratic women
Jezebels.
Jezebels, yes. Sluts, loose women.
Loose women, yes.
Yeah.
Women who, and the show that he was on, and you can go look at this up on YouTube, the show that he was on, he and the host then continued the conversation to talk about how these women who are immoral, who are Jezebels, are practicing witchcraft by attempting to usurp the natural order. So the natural order to someone like Micah Beckwith and the host of this show is men are in charge, period. Because that's the entire moral of the Jezebel story. If you are a woman and you use your sexuality and you, Zeke just said Trump is a Jezebel, 100%.
Zeke, that's funny.
When you use your sexuality to try to usurp men's authority, you are out of favor with God. And I will also point out, God loved Jezebel, right? God loved everybody. Jesus sat down with sex workers. I'm not going to use the word that they use, but sat down with sex workers.
That's what they were called.
Yes. The judgment was not there. The judgment has been placed after the fact.
I got to just let you know what Republicans see, because it's not what we see. So I go out and I meet occasionally Republicans that are prominent around here. Sometimes they're going to go to an event with Micah Beckwith. Sometimes they post pictures on their Facebook of them with Micah Beckwith, thinking that this is going to help their campaign or whatever. And I'm like, do you know anything about Micah Beckwith? And one guy said, just that he's a good Christian man. That's all I need to know. All I need to know is he's a good Christian man. And I go, let me tell you just a couple things. And I told him just a couple things. And he went, oh, no, I didn't realize that. So there is a danger in just assuming that someone's, because they're a pastor, because they call themselves a Christian, that they are this godly, wonderful person that we just trust. And
Yep.
I'm telling you, there's no way I would let my children be around that man
No.
without supervision ever.
No.
So you call him a pastor. I mean, come on, you all. We know that people in religious power have been abusive before. We're going to pretend like this doesn't happen. So I just want you to realize most Republicans in Indiana have no clue who our lieutenant governor is. They couldn't name him. They wouldn't, do you know his name? And do you know anything about him? So before you get mad at all the Indiana Republicans that blindly voted for our governor and then he was attached to it, just realize they're not seeing Corinne's videos. They're not watching our stuff on Christian nationalism. They just are assuming the Republicans are electing good people. And then my second point about this is, if you are this religion and you're thinking this is going to save our country, having these values, having these Christian values, this is going to be great. We should praise what Indiana government is doing by including the church in our state government. Are you okay with all the other religions being forced on you? And if you are okay with the Quran being taught, or if you're okay with every other religion being forced as the religion, and you don't like that, that's why we have the separation of church and state, so that you can individually attend whatever church you want to, or you don't have to attend a church. You are not forced. It seems like Micah Beckwith really wants to make our government this evangelical Christian church with these values where women are under the man. Their main purpose is to get married and pump out a bunch of kids and to not work and to serve their husband and their children. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. If you want to do that, but maybe telling everybody they should do it, maybe not the best move. So I just want to clarify those two things, because the right is not seeing what we're seeing. They're just not. I'm asking big prominent people here that should know, and they have no clue about Micah Beckwith.
Because like you said, Sarah, Christianity is a shorthand for moral good in the United States. And a lot of people, including Micah Beckwith, will argue about the assertion that the United States was founded on a separation between church and state. And I want to remind everyone that the separation of church and state in the early days of this country didn't have anything to do with separating Christianity from Judaism or Islam. It was Christians within themselves, because the Baptists were a pretty extreme version of Christianity. These were the folks who left England, y'all. People talk about religious freedom. It was the most fringe practitioners of the Christian faith in England that left.
And then they came to America and they started little governments where you had to be that religion, and not everybody was, and they forced them to be. And it's like, that is not the America today.
And so that's where we can take, again, I'm at my board with my red strings, right? We can take the Mayflower, we take Puritanism, we draw those strings right to Micah Beckwith, because that is where opposition to sex education comes from. That is where dress codes for women come from. That is where this gendered hierarchy comes from. And those were the people who left England because they were not free to practice that fringe, what was seen in England at the time as a fringe belief. Those were the people who were concerned when the United States was being founded that their religion was going to be trampled upon. In a letter to the Baptists, Thomas Jefferson assured them this nation will have a separation of church and state.
Another reason we do that is for lives, to prevent violence. Look at all the wars that happened in England alone, because they're fighting over whether to be Catholic or England. And it's like, if you just stop that and you let people have freedom of religion, you stop the fighting and the wars. You don't have to send your older kids off and they die in a war, a senseless war over
a stupid war. Yep.
Yeah. So we do this to keep the peace. You cannot force someone to be a religion they don't want to be. it's very troubling what Micah Beckwith is doing. Now, what's the deepfake thing? Have you said
Okay,
it?
so not yet, no, because I'm laying all the groundwork
I know
for
it's so bad.
for why this makes sense, right? And I'll just touch on one more thing quickly, because
Sure.
the religious freedom aspect of it has been really usurped by Christian nationalists like Micah Beckwith. And he's not alone in this, but he's following the movement. And the Christian nationalist movement has actually been really successful in the courts recently to get the courts to view religious freedom no longer as you have the freedom to practice your religion, but you have the freedom to not have to be in any space where people do not endorse your religion. So it's a very twisted interpretation. And I'll give you a quick example, Indiana example. Brownsburg high school teacher John Kluge was fired from his job he was forced to resign, I believe in 2021. He was a music teacher for Brownsburg High School in Indiana, which is a public school system. He refused to call a student by their preferred name and pronouns because he believed that name did not align with his religious view of gender. Because he refused, he was given the opportunity to use the student's last name. So he did that at first. And then students' parents were like, this is not cool. My kid's name is X. Call them X, whatever that name is. And he refused, so he was forced to resign. He has been successful in the courts so far. That is insanity, that you come into a classroom in a public school and say, my religion means your name has to be what I think it is. So that is not John being free to practice his religion. That is John asserting his religion on someone else in a public space. And could you imagine if another fringe group of Christianity was this successful in the courts? Like, imagine if the Amish, I love the Amish, huge Amish community where I live, amazing donuts, pies, sausage, holy crap.
I'm not a giant fan of how the women get treated in the Amish, but you go for it, girl.
but I tell you, the women in the Amish community are some entrepreneurial bitches, and they run businesses and they get shit done. And as a big sturdy woman of German stock, I could really do well on the fields.
Like churning some butter.
Yeah, churning some butter, I would kill it. But could you imagine if the Amish were able to go into court and say that just seeing a car on the road infringed upon their religion? That's really where we are here, is a public school teacher saying that kid having a name that I don't think matches what's in their pants is infringing upon my religion.
And it's just fear. It's the fear mongering of like, trans people or people, it's just the fear mongering. It's so that person's terrified.
Which again, you've been a teacher, Sarah. I've been a teacher. I've been a coach. I have had so many kids say, hey, my name is Emily. I go by M. Fine. Had a kid over at my house named Nicholas when my children were little. And I said, hey, Nicholas. And he goes, hey, could you call me Nikki? Not a problem. I'll call you Nikki. That was his nickname. That's what he liked.
You mean you didn't take it personal?
I didn't. And I didn't ask. Yeah, I didn't ask, well, what were you born?
Wait a minute. You just cared about the kid?
I was just a responsible, respectful adult.
Oh, man.
It's
Wouldn't
so
our life
easy.
Be better if we just had responsible people that cared about children. Wouldn't that be great?
And it's so interesting because there is such a gendered tie to certain names, but I really have legitimate questions of how would this dude handle names from another language that he's not able to associate a gender with? How would he handle gender neutral names like a Jamie or a Robin? My nickname is Corey. That is a gender neutral. I'm Corinne. A lot of people call me Corey. That's a gender neutral name. How would he handle that? Would he not call me Corey because he makes an association with a man?
So this guy is in the courts trying to reverse this decision that
he's trying to get money out of the Brownsburg School Corporation for wrongful termination.
Oh, he's trying to make a bunch of money off of it. Okay.
Because they're claiming that so this is really interesting. So his attorneys are arguing under Title VII. So Title VII gives people the right to exercise their religious freedom in a professional space. So this has been used before when a man of Islamic faith needs to have a beard that is outside of a certain dress code. You know, they work in a place where they don't allow beards. His religion allows him to have a beard. Now you can see how that is on his face, his personal face. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else.
Right. It's not hurting somebody
It's not
else.
hurting somebody else.
He can just wear, you know, a wrap around his beard or whatever.
You do see this a lot in, I remember having classmates in school and a teacher actually in school who, I don't remember what faith they were. They were not Amish or anything, but they didn't show their legs or their arms in public. So they got a special exemption. Even our teacher had a special exemption to wear like full piece bodysuits in the pool, like a surf suit. It's not a big deal. You were supposed to wear a one-piece bathing suit. They had to get an exemption to wear a surf suit. Again, not a big deal. It's not infringing upon anybody else. Right. So that's really what Title VII is designed. You know, if you're Jewish and this is a day you don't work, your job has to give you that day off, even if it's not a Christian holiday, because the US has a lot of Christian holidays that are not work days, not so much with the Jews. So to see someone like John Kluge and his attorneys make this Title VII argument, that means he doesn't have to acknowledge someone else's name because of his religion, is a stretch. So I'm saying all of that to lay the groundwork here, because of course, Micah Beckwith is a huge fan of court decisions like this. All of this shapes who Micah Beckwith is as a person with misogynist views, who he is as a politician, and who he is as a manager within his office. Okay, so we've laid the foundation here. Last week, an article came out alleging that there is a deep fake AI video of a state lawmaker's wife where she is topless. Now, this came after there was a talent show. There was an Indiana talent show, I believe in April, where this woman performed. It was I don't know what kind of performance it was, but it's a fun, you know, kitschy little talent show, whatever. Somebody took the video of her performing and made her topless in it.
That's horrible. We're going to have more of this stuff. This is horrible.
Horrible. And it is illegal. So these kind of AI videos are illegal. They're illegal at the federal level and at the state level. Allegedly, according to sources within the lieutenant governor's office, staffers in the lieutenant governor's office, somebody made this video within that office. They were watching it in the office and they were laughing.
So it appears that allegedly someone made it in the office, in the government office.
That's what it appears.
Oh, that's gross. I didn't realize that. I thought they were just watching it.
So somebody from the, so it doesn't say necessarily that they were making it on government property. So maybe they made it at home and uploaded it and then had people watch it
and showing it at work.
And they claim,
is this a Republican person's wife or a Democrat?
Yes, it has come out since then that Representative Haggard in Indiana, it's his wife. I don't know her name. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry that woman. I'm very sorry.
Me too. It's disgusting. And you know, as you and me, we're women on the internet. This could happen to any of us, and it's why it's illegal. So you are able to sue and get it taken down.
And it's happened to women so much. Like I think of Jennifer Lawrence, it happened to her. Yeah. Her ex-boyfriend's phone was somehow they got his stuff and they flashed it everywhere, and how hurtful it was. She's one of the most famous actors in the world, and that wasn't even a fake video, is real stuff. Yes. And just that women have to put up with this is gross. And I know it happens to guys too, but not to the same extent, unfortunately. Like it shouldn't happen to anybody.
It shouldn't happen to anybody. My goodness. And children too. I mean, this is why people say, like, careful what you put of your kids on the internet, because you know, so much of these deep, you know, when you go to the dark website, it's photos that have been voluntarily uploaded by parents. I did want to bump really quick. So Craig Haggard is the state rep and his wife's name is Brooke Haggard. So I wanted to make sure that I said her name because it's awful that this happened to her.
What is Micah tied to this? So we know.
So according to,
they're watching this in the government office.
Two of his staffers say that Micah stood there and watched the video with them. They all laughed, and it was no big deal.
This is the pastor, guys. This is a good, godly Christian man, you all.
This is right around the time that Erin Sheridan, who was a long time, this is a woman, Erin, again, gender neutral name, y'all. When you say it, you don't know. Fun. This is a woman. Her name is Erin Sheridan. She also worked for Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. So she worked for the previous Lieutenant Governor's administration in Indiana. Micah Beckwith kept her on board because she's good at her job. She was inexplicably let go like the day before this story broke. And I have seen, I'm going to be really careful how I talk about this because I've seen a couple of social media comments from her. She is apparently going through a difficult time with family with some medical issues. I don't believe it's her. I believe it's her family. So she's kind of saying like, y'all, will you chill out? I got to take care of my family and then I'll talk about this. So I'm not going to speculate any further. I'm sending her and her family the best thoughts. But people are, the timing of it is odd. So when Micah Beckwith was asked about this, this story first broke by Tom LaBianco, who actually used to be an Indiana reporter. He is a political reporter. He is reputable. He has a site on Substack called 24 Site News. And he does a lot of political news. And because he's from Indiana, I believe that's how someone reached out to him to give him this scoop, essentially. So if you want the latest on this, go check out 24 Site News. Tom, it's Bianco, Tom LaBianco. And he's an Indiana dude. So he's been around a while. He is, as far as I know, he seems to be reputable. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he was checking all of his sources. So he did reach out to Micah Beckwith. Micah Beckwith did comment. He said, not only did I never see this video, I also don't even believe this video exists. He followed that up at a town hall in Terre Haute that was just a couple of days later. Some people may have seen clips from this town hall because this is where he claimed that immigrants don't get due process, which we know is wrong.
How do you know if they're an immigrant?
What?
If you don't check.
You know what his answer is to that, Sarah? If they're illegal. Again.
But how do we know if they're illegal? Don't we got to check Micah Beckwith?
How do you know?
Maybe he's not used to intelligent women since he doesn't want them schooled. He wants them to know as little as possible about the world so the man can vote for him. Maybe he's not used to us asking intelligent questions and he thinks spouting that back works. I'm going to go with
sure does not. Because as you hear all of the voices challenging him on that video at the town hall, predominantly women. These Jezebels, God bless them, they were not having that. Because they
I can't believe women are mad at Micah Beckwith.
So when you know all of that about Micah Beckwith and you understand the belief system within Christian nationalism and how it views the hierarchy of men and women, it makes a lot of sense that Micah and at least two other men in his office would be standing around finding a video like this humorous. And again, we don't know yet if the video exists. Representative Craig Haggard has been very outspoken and saying, we are looking into this. The prosecutor is looking into this. I am not letting this go. This is unacceptable. This is not about politics. This is about respect and decency. And so again.
And so everybody just realize this is a guy that is still have his job as full-time job of a pastor of a Christian church. So everybody, we don't just blindly assume because somebody's got the name pastor or priest next to them that they're a good human being. We don't just blindly say they're a good Christian man or good Christian woman or whatever. No. We don't look at labels. We look at character. Like Martin Luther King said, we look at their character and how they treat actual human beings. Micah Beckwith seems to want his women to be uneducated, married, pumping out children. You know, does he want us voting?
No.
I question that. And
we're waiting for that shoe to drop because Micah Beckwith will repost and like comments or commentary that discusses repealing of the 19th Amendment.
Oh,
so I don't know that he is
that's the
ever.
amendment that gave women the right to vote, everybody.
Yeah.
So he does like that idea of women
Mhm.
being submissive to their husbands or their fathers in all ways, and that they vote for them. And that
Yes.
is popular in some parts of evangelical churches,
It
because I
sure
do
is.
meet them when I go out on like at parades and stuff, and I talk to people, and I'll ask, are you registered to vote? And women will say no. I said, do you want to be? No. And
No.
it's their religion, their
Mhm.
the men vote for them. I suspect that Micah Beckwith would like that. And
He probably would. He probably would. So we're going to have to keep following this story
yeah, I
and
am
see what
interested.
happens.
And whether it's real or not, which it sounds like it's got some meat and some evidence tied to it, you added on to the picture of all the other things he said and done, and it's not pretty. It's not
No.
pretty when you put it to the 3/5 compromise that he said he
Ugh,
supported. So
it's a great idea. Yeah.
that's a very racist thing to say. And so when you put the picture together, the fact that he's got 2 full-time jobs, everything,
Yep.
the Jezebel comments, which you can get that shirt on. What, can you get that shirt on your stuff?
You can get that shirt at bluesers.com. So you spell it just like the color blue, BLUE.
If you want to get Corinne made a shirt with the Jezebel comment.
My brother-in-law and I designed it. It's
I like, So
it's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Join the club, I guess, because I'm, a Democrat woman. So what's he going to say about me?
And it is kind of the reason that I found the shirt so humorous, or the comment so humorous, is because just existing as a woman with beliefs that are different from Micah Beckwith, that's how low the bar is to be considered a Jezebel,
Well, you got to really submit if you're a woman in Micah Beckwith's inner circle.
Yeah.
And it's such a far-fetched thing from 2025.
And Micah posted, there's a photo that he posted on Facebook maybe last year or the year before, where he is holding his daughter. I think she's turning 4 maybe. And it's just him and his daughter, and he is wishing her a happy birthday and wishing that she grows up to be a quote Proverbs 37 woman. And Proverbs 37, it's again, it's a translation of the Bible passage that just talks about what it means to be a good wife. And so the idea that you are putting on a 4-year-old, not only that she will be a heterosexual woman someday, because we don't know what she's going to be. So you're already making all of those assumptions for her, which is really funny to me when people like Micah Beckwith talk about the liberals wanting to turn their kids gay. It's like, you've just decided your kid's sexuality at age 4. So again,
and that she wants to get married.
And that she wants to get married. And not only that she wants to get married,
she wants to have kids. You're probably going to want her to have kids.
Exactly. And so kind of the Proverbs woman is a godly woman. These are the steps that you have to take. And so that again shapes the worldview of someone like Micah Beckwith. And again, if that is your religion, if you are a consenting adult and that is your religion that you consent to participate in, please, God bless. You don't get to exert that religion on the rest of us because you hold public office. So that's really kind of where the line is. So we'll pay attention to this deep fake nonsense.
And I'm just asking anybody that has Republican friends in Indiana, take a couple minutes to tell them about Micah Beckwith. The very deep, full Republicans that I am friends with did not know. And I told them a few things and it was like, what? Because they're not seeing it. So don't assume everybody in Indiana knows about Micah Beckwith. Most people don't. Okay, before we move on to the last topic, I just want to plug our stuff, you all. Our Substack is growing. If you want emails of our episodes, or if you want to easily see all our shows and what they're about, and you can scroll through, just go to Project Next Indiana, and you can put your email for our episodes. And then we're on the radio some too. I'm hoping to eventually get to more radios, but that's neat. So if you're listening to us on the radio, you can follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and then our Substack. And then we're also a podcast. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Yeah. And then the Substack, you can listen to it as a podcast too. So we're on lots of places. If you don't mind sharing, some of our content has been a little bit restricted lately on some places. I noticed the vaccine episode we did really got.
And
And
we
so
need to do an update on that, because maybe that could be our next show if you want, Sarah. Because again, Micah Beckwith is in the mix, really pushing for these religious exemptions for vaccinations. And for someone like Micah Beckwith, who was thrilled when Roe v. Wade was overturned. You know, he was thrilled that women lost the right to medical privacy when it comes to abortion. He is very angry that anyone could lose medical privacy when it comes to vaccinations. So there's a really gross contradiction happening there.
I'll talk about whatever you want, girl.
Yep. And the vaccine thing is fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Just beware. It might be restricted on certain social media stuff. It's interesting. I don't know. I'm trying not to stress about it. Okay. So anyway, share our stuff if you can.
Yes, please.
And just thank you, and join our Substack and then our YouTube. That's another big one. It really helps when you subscribe to our Project Next YouTube. So thank you for that. And thank you to everybody that's commented.
Yeah, I was going to say Zeke, Christine, Michael. And if you want to get...
thank you to everybody.
Andrea, thank you so much. Yes, Andrea, I will be at the Knox County meeting on September 5th. I'm so excited about that. I've been invited by their party. I've got some other dates to plug. I need to do a better job of that. I am going to, Sarah, if you want some breaking news, do you want some breaking news?
Yeah.
My birthday is August 23rd. So I know you all are already celebrating me the entire month of August, as everyone should. Thank you so much. I'm just kidding. It's only my mom. But on August 23rd, it is a Saturday. I am going to be hosting a live virtual event. And we are going to get together and collaborate and chat. And I will probably have a brief presentation. And then we will just do Q&As. So look for information on that coming up.
Oh, I hope I can join and talk to you for a little bit on it.
That would be fun, right? That's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm hoping to see who joins.
How old? What's your birthday?
I will be 42.
42?
42. And it's so funny because you know how some people, like, you have those numbers that you throw out when it's just like, well, how many? You're just like, I don't know, a gazillion. Like, people have kind of numbers that they go to and kind of throw out when they don't know the answer to something. For those of you who don't know, the other half of my family, my partner's French. And so all of his family is French. So in the French language, 42 is the number that you throw out. So 42, right? 42, 42.
How old am I? I don't know.
42. You're just like, yeah, like what's that going to cost you? I don't know, 42. Like and so my sister-in-law told me that. We were on the phone with her the other day, and my sister-in-law told me that, and she said, do you know in French, 42 is our answer for everything? And I'm like, 42 is the answer for everything, y'all. And it's also Jackie Robinson's number for any of you baseball fans out there. Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. So he was number 42. So it is a cool number. And it was just fun when I was talking with my brother-in-law. He helps me with a lot of the social media stuff and web stuff that I do. And so I was like, hey, my birthday's on a Saturday. Like, let's do it. So that would be a wonderful birthday present. It'll be literally the day after I take my oldest to college. So he moves in on the 22nd, so that I get to have a virtual birthday party on the 23rd. So I will be pushing out that link. And yeah, so I just wanted to throw that in there as we're plugging stuff.
So there is the Democrat convention in French Lick, the Indiana Democratic, I don't know what it's called, dinner. It's a big weekend thing.
Yes, that's this weekend, right?
It's French Lick. Yeah, I normally come to it. I'm not going to be able to come to it this weekend because on Saturday, my kid has marching band stuff and my twins turn 7 on Friday. And so their party is Saturday.
Fun. Oh, they're August babies too. We're all a bunch of August babies.
Yeah, my husband's birthday was yesterday.
And happy birthday, Chris.
And then my twins' birthday are Friday. And then I can't go, but Tim is going to be there and he's going to do some Project Next. I think he's going to do like a long episode from the porch of French Lick Resort. And interview
which is a very like noticeable resort.
So that'll be fun.
If you Google the image of that, yeah.
I imagine it'll be during the day. Like imagine like after lunch before dinner time, there'll be some Project Next episodes with Tim and a bunch of various people. So be on the lookout for that. I was going to do it, but I was like, I can't this day,
Yeah.
I can't mess with the day. Like, it's like, anyway. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, look, we've got some more August birthdays in the comment. I remember seeing this. Blythe Potter, who is the lovely spouse and also Secretary of State candidate for 2026, Blythe Potter, the lovely spouse of Michael Potter, posted their daughter's birthday, Violet.
Aww.
It
and
was
then
also
Nate just
in
had
August.
a birthday. My friend Nate Adams just said
on the
happy birthday,
3rd.
Nate. I didn't even know.
And my sister-in-law, Pauline, that I was talking to the other day, her birthday's on the 2nd. So yeah, I don't know the zodiacs.
Me neither.
I don't think I'm a Leo. I think I hit the cusp to Virgo, but whatever. Yeah, maybe I'm a Virgo with you, Michael. I don't know.
Happy birthday, all the August people, especially
August
Corinne, who's going to be 42.
42.
Okay, let's do Speedway Slammer. This
Oh,
is
God.
I know it's so freaking depressing.
Okay, so Sarah, you mentioned that I hit 100,000 followers on TikTok, right?
Yes.
How fun, right? I hit 75,000 on Instagram. That was also super fun.
That's amazing because you just started your Instagram. You started from like a few hundred followers.
Yeah, I've only been doing TikTok for a year, so that's what like this, because there's hunger for Indiana, y'all. Like this has to be replicated on a national.
When your state
scale.
Gets so bad, so many more people
are
want to
so
know, how do we save it? We're so angry. How do we save Indiana? So yeah,
desperate for information, and so I could not have done this without all of you, Sarah included. Like this is a team effort, seriously, a team effort. And I was going to do like a cute thing. You know how people do like cute shit?
Yeah, that's a big deal. 100,000 followers is a big deal. We have 2,400 something on Project Next TikTok. So, I mean,
we'll get there. Let's see where we're at in a year, right? It took me a year. I think I started with 300 people following me a year ago.
Wow.
So I was really excited that day. There's outside of my my partner's home, there are these beautiful, crazy wildflowers growing. And some of them are really bright yellow. And so I was going to go out and cut a bunch of them and make like 100 on the sidewalk and stand in front of it. Nope, I didn't do any of that. The only thing I did was write 100K on a piece of paper and hold it up for a video because I was too pissed off about this Speedway Slammer nonsense. So y'all remember Alligator Alcatraz, right? Speedway Slammer was announced by Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in a tweet. She said that they were very excited to unveil the quote Speedway Slammer in Indiana. Now, Indiana is a speedway state, right? We have the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We are very known for the Indy 500. I have very fond memories of the Indy 500 because it was always on a Sunday and we always had to go to early church that day. There was a 10:30 service and an 11 o'clock, or 8:30 service and an 11 o'clock service. We always had to go to the 8:30 service on the Indy 500 day so we could be home in time to hear all of the singing because Jim Neighbors, you know, sang back home again in Indiana. And then we had to watch the flag and yada, yada, yada. So I have very fond memories of the Indy 500. To hear Speedway being used in the name of something that has the potential to be a concentration camp is really sad. And it's even more frustrating from a communications and marketing perspective, because I've been talking about this for a while, y'all. I really think, and I'm sure that there will be data from people way smarter than me in the future, that so much of the success of the MAGA movement and of Trump is branding. Trump has been branding himself in the public eye since
they're
the 1980s.
very good at it. You're so right. They're very good at it. The Make America Great Again is still big. People
the
still
acronym,
love
right? They love acronyms. So there's MAGA, there's MAHA, there's MIHA. I say MIHA, Make Indiana Healthy Again. And then Alligator Alcatraz, Speedway Slammer, alliteration, right? Putting the same letters together so it kind of rolls off the tongue, even though Alligator Alcatraz is located in Florida. The actual Alcatraz prison on the island was off the coast of California. Yeah. So Speedway Slammer was announced, and it was a little confusing at first because there were already reports coming out of Indiana about the Braun administration's intention to use Camp Atterbury, which is located south of Indianapolis, as a federal detention facility and use Miami Correctional Facility, which is north of Indianapolis, as a federal detention facility. So the Speedway Slammer thing caught a lot of people off guard because the way that Secretary Kristi Noem worded the tweet is she worded it to say they were building something new. It has since been clarified that nothing new is being constructed. They are just expanding the capacity at Miami Correctional Facility.
Oh, okay.
And Miami Correctional Facility is a state prison that is located about an hour and 15 minutes north of Indianapolis, just outside of the Grissom Air Force Base. And it has capacity for around 3,000 inmates. Currently, there are only like 1,800 inmates there, but they are considered full capacity because they don't have the staff. So like 1,200 beds in the prison are kind of just closed off because they don't have staff for it. So it's a little confusing when you go to research it because it says Miami Correctional Facility is 100% capacity. It is based on the current staffing numbers. So what they're going to do is they're going to open up that additional 1,000-ish beds for federal detainees and staff it either with state employees or federal employees. That has yet to be determined. The Speedway Slammer obviously is just more marketing because there is a town called Speedway, Indiana, that is just outside of Indianapolis. We obviously have the Indianapolis Motor Speedway that is in Indy. This is over an hour north. So
it's a catchy name to make it sound like this great thing, but reality, we're holding people that we don't know whether they've done anything wrong or not in here, and it seems pretty inhumane.
It does.
And I just would like, again, my guess is most Republicans or people that don't follow local politics have no idea this is happening in Indiana. Just because you know it, that doesn't mean your neighbors and friends and family know it. So just take a few minutes out when you see them and just explain it to them compassionately what's actually happening. I personally have never been so happy that I have white skin and blonde hair and that I was born in Louisville. And I have some friends that are married to people that were not born in this country, and I am very worried, and they are so stressed out right now, and they have children that their skin don't look white, and I can't believe I'm saying this in 2025, and they are worried about their children. And we need to humanize this. Human beings that are neighbors, we need to humanize it. And they're trying to manipulate us and act like these are scary villains that need to be locked up, and these are human beings living their life, and most of them are great, wonderful people. So we need to take the time, everybody, to explain what's happening. So Trump has given federal money, is that right? Do this?
That's the speculation, is that there will be some reimbursement but from a spending perspective, the state of Indiana received a very grim revenue forecast right before the legislature passed the budget for the last 2 years, or the next 2 years, largely because of projections regarding the tariffs. Indiana is facing a shortfall in revenue of over $2 billion. This revenue shortfall was then incorporated into the budget and was used to justify major cuts to education as well as public health. Public health is one that I don't think a lot of people know about. Almost 70% of funding for public health was slashed in the state of Indiana.
Oh, wow.
And again, with the freaking acronyms, Make Indiana Healthy Again was a press conference that Braun, Dr. Oz, and RFK Jr. hosted earlier this year, where their big revelation was they were banning food stamp recipients from buying soda and candy, while they turn around and strip public health funding that pays for things like prenatal care, maternity care, early childhood care, vaccinations, STI screenings, public education, yada, yada, the list goes on and on and on. And so it's just this real corruption and perversion of thought that we as a people should be more afraid of sugar in our candy and red food dye in our cereal than we should be afraid of measles. or polio or an STI. And that's the reality of what is happening. So the fact that those kind of drastic cuts can be made to areas that will specifically irrevocably harm people in Indiana, and yet we somehow have the budget to pay for federal detainees, because immigration policy is not state policy, y'all. This is federal policy. This is honestly not our business. But when you go through the Indiana budget, one of the departments that got a substantial pay increase in the budget was the Indiana State Police. The Indiana State Police have now been, quote unquote, deputized under Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE, section, I believe it's 287G. Section 287G allows for local or state law enforcement agencies to apply to be federal deputies in their jurisdiction. So the Indiana State Police will be able to execute federal warrants and detain federal immigrants. And we have to remember the Trump administration set a very lofty goal of deporting millions and millions of people, right? And they did this, like you said, Sarah, by characterizing these people as horrific violent criminals. Once you get all of the, quote, horrific violent criminals out of the US, then what do? Because there's really not that many of them. There really aren't that many. You're never going to hit your millions and millions number.
They're making quotas. They want so many people caught and put in these
quotas,
and it's
showing
not
up
equal to the data of how many of these people are violent criminals.
No,
it doesn't equal.
These are
There's
people
way more
who
people
are
they want
showing up to court for an immigration hearing. They wait outside court and they arrest them. Again, people who are, quote unquote, doing the right thing, going through the correct immigration process, people who are showing up to pay a traffic ticket, they are being arrested. So these are not violent criminals. And it's really frustrating to hear the rhetoric that is coming out of the Braun administration and the MAGA movement on this, because the state of Indiana relies very heavily on immigrant labor, regardless of documentation status. We are a heavy agricultural and a heavy manufacturing state. Both of those industries are powered by immigrants. And regardless of how many of them are documented, the United States, yeah.
I got to put this on. That was a great comment. Jesse said, what's crazy is they claim these people are lazy, yet they are going to people's jobs and snatching them up.
They're at work, y'all.
Them at work.
They're claiming that they're lazy and they won't work. We're also claiming that they won't do the right thing, but we're arresting them at work and we're arresting them at their immigration hearing. We're arresting them while they're doing the two things that we say they're not doing. And when you look at numbers of, and I also want to point out, the immigration process as it is in the United States is very arduous. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming. And that process has really only existed for the last 30 or 40 years. So when you talk about your family, quote, coming here the right way, if your family came prior to the 1950s, there was no right way, y'all. You literally just walked in, okay? So this right way that we have created is, in my opinion, based on my experience in the immigration system, it's a moneymaker. Because not only are these people paying a ridiculous amount of money every single year or every 2 years to renew their documentation, they are also paying taxes. You do not have to have a social security number to pay taxes, y'all. The government is going to get their money.
So these people work. They pay taxes. They help
taxes.
Our society and our communities.
They pay fees into our immigration system, sometimes over decades.
So they're paid more money than if you were born in America naturally.
At any point in time, I just want to put this last number out here. Kind of at any point in time, when you look at the United States as a whole, at any point throughout our history, we have always been right around 13% immigrants. Regardless of documentation status, right? It's always around 13%. So that in and of itself illustrates that there is not a surge that is happening. There is not an invasion. That is very coded propaganda kind of language.
You mean they're manipulating our fears to get to do their agenda? Shocking.
And the US has always relied upon immigrants being about that 13% of our population for a variety of reasons. And so that's really important to remember that was true in 1900, it was true in 1800, and it's true in 2025. So that we have to reframe it, and we have to talk about facts at a time when
I'm thankful that you're
don't
doing
like
this.
facts.
Thank you for telling us all these facts about it. I have 2 points. One, we need Indiana people to step up and talk about this and say this is wrong on a humanitarian, how do you say it? I can't say the
Humanitarian.
word. Humanitarian effort. We need to just stand up and say this is morally wrong. We should not treat people this way. We need prominent people in Indiana stepping up and saying this is wrong. We have got to stand up against these extreme people doing these hurtful things. So I around here, it's mostly Republicans in power. I am hoping some Republicans will publicly say this is wrong and put pressure on the extremists in power. I know not every Republican official is supporting this. They're just not publicly going against it. I bet a lot of them don't even know it's happening. I bet some of them don't. And some of them are too scared to get bullied themselves by the extremists on their party. They need to step up. We need to support them when they do and not go after them. My other thing is, how many people in Indiana are we going to hurt? It's like, how many people can we hurt in this whole country? And then I just look at our state that's being, put out so bad by what's going on with the extremists. Your sound is weird, Corinne.
Is my sound weird?
Yeah.
Is it better?
Why.
What did I do?
I don't know. But anyway.
Is it better now?
Yeah. How many people are we going to hurt? That's how many children? Because we're hurting children. How many people are we going to hurt with the health cuts, with the SNAP cuts? And what do you think that does? Do you think hurting people that need help the most helps our community? Because it does the opposite. It makes our communities less safe because people got to feed their children. People need to have a place to live. People need to survive. So we're making people that are struggling, we're making their lives harder. And then we're expecting our places to get safer. It doesn't make sense. And
Sarah and I are often criticized. I wonder if it's because we're women, often criticized for being emotional, right? Or leading with emotion. I do want to remind everyone that if y'all have not watched any of our shows before, have not seen any of the content that we've made before, these positions, while we do feel them in our hearts because we feel for children and families, we also have data to back us up. These are not strictly emotional positions. And every time I talk about the data that immigrants actually add more to the economy than they take away, the data about immigrants, they do pay taxes, all of the benefits that come from immigrants, those are backed up with data. So you can say that with your whole chest and feel it. You can also know in your heart that it's wrong and it hurts. But from a policy perspective, you can also feel confident in knowing that the data supports this. And if you want confirmation from MAGA that the data supports it, go look at how Trump talks about hospitality workers in hotels, agriculture workers. Look at Indiana Congressional Representative Marlin Stutzman, who represents Indiana 3rd District. He is a 5th generation farmer. He has introduced legislation to exempt farm workers from deportation. And if you spend a lot of time with immigration attorneys, they will tell you that they regularly get phone calls from people who say, hey, I have an immigrant working for me, but they're a good one. They're not one of those. Can I get them citizenship status? So when their labor benefits you, specifically benefits you, you will advocate for keeping them, like Representative Stutzman. I don't know if his bill is going to go anywhere, but he is a huge MAGA supporting Republican. But as a farmer, he introduced this language. President Trump is another example of someone who has for decades used undocumented labor in his construction projects and all of his resorts and hotels. So when it benefits you, people want them around. And what we have to realize is it benefits all of us. Immigrants, regardless of where they come from, regardless of their status, benefit our entire community and economy.
The easiest way to control someone is to get them scared.
Yes.
That's how we've been able to attack our public schools. We make up things and say things that some of them might be based on truths, and they blow it up about public education, and then they blow it up because it's your kids, and it's really easy to spread fear about your children. So,
It is.
just look for what the play it is, the manipulation tactic, and let's do better. Thanks everybody that gave a lot of great comments. I really
this was
appreciate
awesome.
that.
This was
And-
awesome. I'm going to show Nate's comment too, because it's the immigrants that they personally know are, quote, good people.
He says it's funny with so many folks, every immigrant they know personally is one of the good ones, but they still know the others are out there. So it's that fear, the fear mongering of otherness. We're all human beings. Most of us want the same things. We want to be with our families and to be able to support them and have a decent life, a chance at life, liberty, and happiness. And we need to take the fear mongering out of it, and we need to call it out. So
yeah.
Let's keep doing it, everybody. Let's keep calling out what's going on. And also never forget, so many people are fighting for good. That's what I have to do right now, because this has been a hard week, Corinne. I have to constantly remember all the people fighting for good. And you guys don't forget it either. Big hug to everybody that cares about people, that wants to improve, and don't give up. Keep fighting, but take care of yourself, and just know, love from us. There are so many people in Indiana fighting for Indiana. I wouldn't be able to wake up every morning knowing about what's going on if I didn't have you all. So thank you for being in the fight with me and with Corinne. And thanks for doing this,
Thanks,
you guys.
Everybody. Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Nate, Zeke, Michael. Thank everybody in the comments. Andrea was in here as well. We really appreciate y'all. If you are listening to this, if you are seeing this, please share it. A lot of social media engagement is changing, especially during this politically, heated time. And engaging with comments and shares goes a really long way. It goes so much farther beyond just liking a post. So if you could share this, we would really, really appreciate it. And go to our YouTube and our Substack and subscribe. Go to our podcast. You can find this on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, you can leave us a review if you want to help. We have
reviews help as well.
Reviews help.
If you want to go give us 5 stars, even if you want to give us 4, we're okay with that. If you want to give us 3, we're going to have to talk. But give us 4 or 5.
Just online. We're fine with that. Just us online. Rate us high.
Rate us high. That's great. You want to talk shit? Talk shit. It's fine.
TikTok is the place I get trolled the most, and you should see the TikTok comments. I'm like, maybe a lot of people are going to see this video then. I'm like, no, still not that many people. Just a lot of trolls.
A lot of trolls. And I had to block. I blocked a dude, which I don't block very many people.
I wish you blocked more, because it gets me mad when they say mean things about my girl.
I know. I try. I really try, but I don't see all of them. And so somebody that was kind of like a frequent troll, I blocked him finally. He just made a new account. So
can you block that one? Just block
I can.
That one?
I will. He'll just make another one. I mean, it's just it's insane the time that people have to dedicate to hating someone that they don't agree with. So
like
that's not where
such a happy life there.
But that's not where we are putting our energy. We are putting our energy into focusing on the steps that we can take, the positive steps that we can take, and really how to make everyone's lives better in the future and more peaceful. Because the stress that is being done, not only to us, at least we're adults and we can handle it. Supposedly we can handle it. But the trauma that's being inflicted on the younger generations right now, who don't know a United States other than this United States that is chaotic and unsafe, that's generational. That will have repercussions long after Sarah and I are no longer on this earth. And that is something that we have to remember. What we're doing to our kids is really, it's unforgivable.
Yeah. But we're going to fix stuff. We got a bunch of people fighting. We're going to keep organizing and keep working on it and keep growing. So don't give up. We're going to offer solutions and then demand that people do them.
Yes.
Like, we're getting there. We're growing. I am, I can sleep at night because I started Project Next, but it's I can't believe our reality sometimes.
I know.
I can't believe what happened to Indiana in this last week.
Indiana has been on, again, I mean, the Trump administration is looking The poll, if y'all are and polling numbers, we have to take with a grain of salt. But there is some interesting information, particularly on the economy, that is showing how unpopular the Trump administration's economic policies are right now. Canada and Mexico are in the midst of negotiating their own North American trade agreement that will cut out the United States.
Wow.
So these countries are figuring out, how do they get around the US? How do they live without us?
How much damage are we going to do with this extremism until we stand up and we take it back? And I do see a little bit more this week. I do see more people standing up.
Yes.
And I just hope that continues. There's strength in numbers. You're not alone. Stand up, especially if you're someone with power, with money, with some sort of company or whatever, just stand up against this and let's work together and fight it and push it back down until we can vote it out.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thanks,
Bye,
y'all.
everybody.
Thanks for being
Love
here.
you
We
guys.
appreciate you. Love you. Stay strong. Take care of yourselves. And